Hey.
Andrew, right?
Yeah,
Tetiana.
Tetiana. Okay, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Andrew. I'm calling in person.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful day today.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
So before we start talking about you, I just want to say a couple of words about how a relationship could go, what are your rights, and just make it clear so it's easier for us in the future.
Okay.
This process is called informed consent. It can be updated throughout the counseling as we go, counseling process. So if you ever have a question about your rights or something makes you feel uncomfortable, you don't understand something, you can always ask me a question. So it doesn't have to be this one conversation right now. But first of all, I want to reassure you, anything you share with me is strictly confidential, except two moments. One is when you are, I will learn from you that you don't want to cause harm for yourself or to someone else. In that case, I will have to notify someone who can intervene and help, you know. Also, I am a licensed counselor. I work in the state of Virginia, which means that if you're outside of the state of Virginia, unfortunately, I cannot counsel you or provide you services. So if you move to a different state, we'll have to look for a different counselor for you, and I'm happy to help with that. But if you're just visiting, you can just reschedule, you know. But if you're visiting a friend in a different state, unfortunately, we can't have, for example, a video call. What I can do is I can text with you if you need just an advice or reach out to me. I also do texting with my clients just if they need help between the sessions or even a phone call. So I don't charge extra for this. So if you ever feel overwhelmed or something happened, you want to talk about this, feel free to reach out, and if I'm available, I'll be answering you.
Okay.
So that's all so far. I wanted to let you know. Do you have any questions about it?
About informed consent? No, it was all thorough.
Okay. Yeah. Beautiful. So let's talk about you. Tell me, how are you?
How am I? Yeah. I'm doing well. For me, it feels kind of like a weird thing to be back in counseling. I was in counseling once before at my Christian school, but they were a little bit more Christian than counseling. So that was 10 years ago. I haven't been to counseling since then. I was motivated by my wife actually to come here, but I mean, you know this. I reached out to you, said I want to go to counseling, and then I told you this, that my wife had told me it would be a good idea, and that I needed to wait a little bit to make sure it was my idea too. And it's my idea, so I'm glad it's my idea to be here. And I guess my reason for wanting to come to counseling is to talk about like, why I want to work on my relationship with my parents and understand why I've kind of shut down. There's a lot of history to that. I don't know if we can talk about it all today, maybe over time, but yeah, I have a fairly complicated relationship with my parents.
Fathers and sons.
Yeah, and mothers.
I would love to learn about your relationship experience in this session, if you feel comfortable talking about.
Yeah, whatever.
Tell me more. So you said you feel like you're shutting down.
Yeah.
At certain institutions as parents, or in general, you're shut down?
That's a great question. It's actually around topics of like religion and music for some reason.
Oh, interesting.
Both of those. My dad's a pastor. I'm a Christian. Obviously, he's a Christian, but we have different opinions on certain things. For example, silly things like the age of the earth. My dad thinks it's 7,000 years old. I think that's dumb. Sorry, it's probably not the right way to say it, but I think it's like something that I really care about. Like I grew up in the church feeling sort of indoctrinated to believe that the earth was 7,000 years old. And even in high school, I embarrassed myself by defending that scientific biblical belief and got humiliated a lot in school trying to defend it. Even though it's, in my opinion, indefensible. My reason for defending it was I don't know, I was so wrapped up in the church identity that I just thought everyone who didn't think the earth was 7,000 years old and that evolution existed was like the enemy, so to speak. Now I don't feel that way, but my dad is still in that period of life. I think he'll continue to be in that period of life, but I guess conversations with him just feel difficult because things that I care about, things that have hurt me in the past, are things that he doesn't really care about or does have opinions on, and we're completely on opposite sides. So I feel like, and he and my mom both have said things that have been very hurtful that I haven't been able to let go of. I'm rambling, not rambling, but I could go on for like 20 minutes about things. I just feel like it's a dense history.
And what do you mean by saying dense history?
Like there's a lot to talk.
So let me paraphrase what you said. So you were saying that there are two specific topics that make you shut down, at least your parents. It's music and topics of like Christian views, beliefs.
Some Christian views. I mean, I'm still a Christian. Obviously, they're Christians, but it's different kinds of Christians.
So those moments make you shut down. Why do you think it's? I think I understand when you talk about Christianity and beliefs. Tell me more about music. What about this topic that makes you shut down?
My parents almost only exclusively listen to worship music and some classical. And I branched away from that around the same time that I branched away from all this other, I feel, nonsensical beliefs. And these are things that I deeply care about. Like I really love music. I have a huge record collection. I have like most of my money goes towards building up this like record setup. And I feel like music is one of my favorite things. Even though I don't play music, I just love the different kinds, variety of music. And if I show it to my parents, they have like it's like they took a bite of a lemon, you know. Which, you know, everybody who cares about something wants to be able to share that with someone else and have them at least mirror your enthusiasm if they don't like it.
It sounds like these two things, and correct me if I'm wrong, but both like music and the essential beliefs about life, because that's where religion plays, right? It's the beliefs about the essence of life. Those two things are so intimate, and you have strong disagreements, or it sounds like your parents have very strong opinions about those two things in your life. Would you say it like this?
I would say they're strong, but they're uninformed. Like my dad has this saying that topics are open-handed and closed-handed when it comes to the gospel, and that the closed-handed topics are like Jesus died and raised from the dead. Open-handed are like sexuality, gender, the age of the earth, you know, because they're not like essential to salvation. Which I wish he kind of practiced what he says, because then it would mean we could have dialogues about our differing beliefs. But I don't think he's authentic in that, because anytime we talk about these other things that we would both agree are open-handed issues, my dad gets very emotional and defensive, and even goes as far as to say he thinks that I'm not saved, you know? Which I don't know if you can, like, if you're religious or not, but hearing that from the father is kind of like wounding.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, I want to reassure you that, again, as I said, I believe, and a lot of my colleagues, that spirituality is something that is so important for human motivation in life, their relationship with themselves, their relationship with other people. And Father is this essential figure in your life. And if they question something like this, that hits you in a very vulnerable spot.
Yeah.
So I can appreciate your feelings of wanting to hide these parts of you or close them down, and not show them to other people.
Yeah.
But you came to here to counseling. You said you came because you want to address this relationship or this parts of your relationships with parents, right?
Yeah, or just like figure out why I can't have conversations.
Yeah. So since we have a shorter session, we would just talk a little bit about the goals that we have. Maybe talk about what you want, you know. And I just want you I want to tell you that this is something we together set. I'm here to help you shape your goals and ask you questions. But if you feel like you don't like the goal we're setting or you don't feel comfortable because that's not exactly the thing, just feel free to negotiate with me. That's what we're doing here. We are here together, figuring it out. Just contributing from different sides, you know?
Yeah.
So how would you name the issue that you have? Or like, not that you have, but you have with parents. It
like
might
how
be,
would it?
I'm just saying, like, we are right now just exploring.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. It seems so broad, but I would say the reason that I want to come to counseling, kind of the reason I want to come to counseling is to either maturely learn how to communicate with my parents, even though we disagree fundamentally on things, and there's like emotional reactions. So learning how to maturely do that and not shut down, or learning how to stand up for myself while not hurting my parents. I don't know. Does that answer that?
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, it sounds like two sides of one coin. I wouldn't even like separate them. It just sounds like having mature communication with your parents that doesn't hurt any of you. Would that sound like what you're looking for?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay, so let's do an activity that is called mind mapping. So we're just gonna put your goal or your desire in a center. And we're gonna make a little map by brainstorming of what can be the possible ways of you coming to where you want to be with your parents.
Okay.
And that can help us both understand where you are standing with them, maybe help us find some things that are hard, that easy, find some things that can motivate you, or them. So I have a piece of paper for you and a pen. Maybe we can put in the center your initial, and I would call it a long-term goal, because that's something that takes time in relationship, but build mature relationship or mature communication with parents.
Okay.
And I think I would, from what I'm hearing, not just mature, but also authentic, right? Because you want to be yourself. If you see that, without that.
Okay.
Beautiful. So yeah, let's just circle it. And right now we're just gonna write different goals of like what on one side we can write like what are the obstacles towards it, and on the other side we can write like what are the steps or what are the ways that can help you towards the goal.
Okay.
So let's just do it. On the right thing we will write the obstacles, and on the left things we'll write the ways that can help us connect with parents.
Okay.
So let's start with the obstacles because I feel like you explored them more in life. What are some of the obstacles? What are some of the obstacles that stand in between you and your mature communication with parents?
I mean, saying like we have different opinions, is that an obstacle?
That could be an obstacle. I think it can be an obstacle.
Okay.
Different opinions.
Okay. Maybe shame when they like, don't, when they say hard things. I guess. Is that, am I on the right track with this?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Feelings of shame that they bring with their comments, right?
Maybe I don't know. It's hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Having a hard time thinking of some.
So if we like look at this, let's think about some like last situation that happened that made you shut down. What was it?
I asked to play a song when we were driving somewhere together, and within like 5 seconds, my mom turned it down.
So what was an obstacle in that situation?
Obstacle?
Between like you and your mom.
Communication that hurts.
So you can say like you felt you didn't feel free to that hurts, right? So you feel like you have freedom. And maybe just the fact that shut it down. So maybe like not enough willingness to accept or to like reflect, as you said, right?
Okay.
So if you look on the other side, things that can help you address these obstacles, right? The first one was the different opinions, which is a really heavy thing to lift in relationship, especially when it comes to like parents and children or husbands and wives, but what are some of the things in the situations she shut the song down, right? What are the things that you could either avoid the situation or address the situation in a way that doesn't cause conflict or doesn't cause shutting down from your side?
I could just like straightforward say, could you not turn it down?
Does that help?
I feel like it would offend my mom and create a new conflict. Because she would say, oh, I didn't want to turn it down because I didn't like it. She would say, I wanted to turn it down because I wanted to talk about something. But to me, that still doesn't show respect for the fact that I wanted to show my mom something.
Did she know you were showing her the song, or did you just like?
No, yeah, definitely. I said like, hey, I found a new song. Can I show it to you guys?
Would it help if you said, hey, it's important for me if you listen to the song?
Yeah.
Like if you say just, if you not just share like information, but would it help if you share how you feel about the song? Do you think it would change their attitude or reaction?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we could address the situation like maybe sharing a feeling that can often give you an opportunity to build a bridge. Or be vulnerable first, which is not necessarily needed step to be the first one to always be vulnerable. It's okay to shut down sometimes, you know? So what was the second thing I wrote? Shame, right?
Shame.
Feeling shame. So that's also a huge one. How would you address of feeling ashamed when parents? Is it usually comes from music interactions or?
No, it's only the just
Why do you think you feel shamed?
Probably because I don't know. I grew up in the church where there's a lot of shame if you're not doing things the right way.
But when you do things, you do them because you believe they're the right way, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So if you remind yourselves that you didn't do anything wrong, even if it does not align with the way you were brought up or your parents believe, would that help you to address the feeling of shame, you think?
Yeah, it's just hard to do that practically because in my parents' eyes, it's like salvific. You know?
Yeah.
Like it's more consequential than just he likes ketchup on his hot dog instead of mustard. He's going to hell.
Yeah. I think that's a big topic to unwrap, and what we could do, because we only have about 5 minutes left in this session, we could dedicate our entire session to feelings of shame, because I feel like that's a big piece and important piece that touches a lot of strings. So how about we talk about this during the next session? But I would like to encourage you during the next week, up until the next Wednesday, just if you interact with parents, make this little notes in your head or in your journal, whatever makes you feel comfortable, of note little things that made you feel a certain way. Little, like maybe words or looks or reactions that made you feel shame or made you feel shut down. Even if it's like a little thing like doing the music quieter or Dan made a joke about something, you know? Yeah. Even if they seem disconnected, but something made you feel certain way. Just make a note of it so we can discuss it next time. And just make a more of like a visual map of what makes you feel a certain way. And I would also just pay a close attention to what worked. So maybe you have a positive interaction with parents and you feel like, oh my gosh, that was really nice. And I felt like being myself. So as a second part of homework for this week, how about you just check little things that work between your parents and also make a note about this. I had a positive interaction. I felt like being myself. What caused that? Yeah.
Okay.
But I think, first of all, I want to say is that relationship with parents is something that every child has to process later in life, and it influences them, the foundational part of them. And it's a big stone to lift. And I just admire you for how you came with also such a beautiful attitude of like, I want to have this connection with my parents. I want to be authentic, to be genuine with them, which I think they raised a wonderful son, and I think they also have a very mature son who cares for relationship with them.
Hmm.
And
Thank you.
I have a really good feeling about that. It's gonna be good for you and for them. But yeah, let's keep this mind map up until the next session and make little notes about your feelings, good or bad, and talk about it next session.
Okay.
Okay. Well, it was a pleasure, Andrew. If you need me between the sessions, please feel free to text me again.
Okay. Thanks.
Of course.